It was great to see that Last Stand match, and you got to see Disco Inferno, who was just a guest on the show the other week, come out and rock it, man. The guy's how old? How old is Disco? Is he in his 50s?
Man,
he's got to be 50.
He got to be close. I mean, he got more grade than I do.
He's got way more grade than you.
But I tell you, he didn't phone it in or anything like that. He didn't, sit.
He's 50 years exactly.
He didn't sit on the sideline watching and waiting, for his turn to get in there or anything like that. He went all in, man, and I appreciate guys that come here to Reality of Wrestling, old school guys that still know what it's about. For me, I always talk about staying relevant. Disco Inferno, he came out, did his job, came out the following day, did fantasy camp, and then went on social media and talked about how his experience was here at Reality of Wrestling. That's what it's really, truly all about. Disco Inferno honestly knows it's about giving back to the young guys, the young, want to be superstars in this business one day. That's what it's really, truly all about. As well as I was talking about Disco Inferno actually just, a couple of days ago, as far as how solid of a worker the Disco Inferno actually really was. Go back and watch your Disco Inferno and Booker T in the square circle, and I think you're going to like what you see.
Well, I think a lot of times the guys who have the gimmicks, if you will, or the characters who are a little bit more cartoony and over the top, like a Disco Inferno, I think a lot of times they get overlooked by how good they are in the ring, or they just get overlooked in general about their in-ring ability because the character is so all-encompassing that a lot of the times you're not focused on their in-ring acumen.
I really think that could have happened to the Disco Inferno. I really do, because he was such a solid worker. But when you get what I call pigeonholed, put yourself in a position to where it's hard to work your way out of it. I talk about guys who do flips. I say, hey, man, you might not want to do those flips, in front of certain promoters because you might end up doing them for the rest of your career. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
right.
Stay away from that kind of stuff. You got to know how to, feed certain things. And Disco Inferno, I don't think it was I don't think it was his work or anything like that. I really think it was the time and the era, why Disco Inferno then, transitioned to the WWE because, they were looking for certain guys, in the WWE when I first got there. And I don't think Disco Inferno kind of played into, their plan or anything like that. They were looking for the Sean O'Hares, of the word. Sean O'Hare, he got a big push,
Yeah, they put him with Roddy Piper,
but he had that that prototypical look that they were that they were looking for, So I tell you, man, I always wondered, throughout my whole wrestling career, that thin line, that guys walk on. What makes guys different, and this guy, go to the top and this guy don't, you know what I mean? It's such a fine line as far as that goes, and I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones.
You're one of the lucky guys, but you're right. I mean, I think actually back when WWE was acquiring WCW, they were like, well, who are our top guys who we're going to sign right away and push them in the main event? And who are going to be some of the other guys who are like, if they had a big whiteboard, Disco Inferno, all credit to him, he's not going first on the whiteboard. If you got all the names, you're like, okay, give me Booker, give me Diamond Dallas Page. Is Goldberg? Okay, we'll get Goldberg in a year. We'll get Nash in a year.
Yeah, Buff Bagwell.
We'll get Buff. Bring Buff over. Buff looks good.
Hey, Kurt Hawkins, he was talking to me. He's like, hey, Book, I watched that match with you and Bagwell. It wasn't so bad. He said, why do you say that was the worst match in your wrestling career? And I go, well, it was the worst match in my wrestling career, I think. I say because that's the first time I ever got to chant. You know what I mean? He said,
boring.
But he said, man, where you guys were, he was talking about where we were. He's like, man, you guys were in hostile territory. There's no way, you guys were going to get over it. I go, well, I know that, but still, I wanted to think that I was able to go out there and, charm them, kind of like, Idi Amin, I needed to persuade them, you know what I mean? I needed to charm them, and I didn't do that. I didn't pull that off, that night, and, with Bagwell, him and I, we had wrestled 1,000 times. I thought if anyone I can go out there and do it with, it would have been Bagwell. But I tell you, certain situations, that's just what happens, Yeah.
But that would be interesting. Well, maybe we should do that one day on the show. Is sit down and watch that match back and then you kind of do commentary over it and kind of talk about what was going on. And I would like to see. I mean, have you ever watched it back?
You know what? I've watched it maybe once. You know, it's
how long ago?
It's been quite some time.
Yeah,
it's not one of those matches that I go back and watch. You know, it's kind of like it goes in the Regal and in the Finley pile. I was talking about Regal and Finley. It just goes to show you, Regal and Finley, those guys, I never really had great matches with Regal and Finley or anything like that.
But they were great workers.
Oh man. Great workers. They knew exactly what they were doing in the ring, but just my style clashed with those guys, And the thing is, I never liked William Regal. My whole wrestling career, when I was in the ring, working, Finley, he's another guy who got on my could have gotten on my bad side, But one thing about those two guys, I respected those guys, to the utmost. And then I found myself as King Booker with King's Court. They were the best two guys for that job. Because
they were perfect.
Oh, they were perfect. They went out and they beat those guys like they stole something. And that's why I didn't like working with Finley and Regal, because they were stiff workers. You know what I mean?
It's that European style, right?
Oh man, I mean, Finley kicked me in my back so bad one time. I felt it for at least a week. And, still snap mare, kick to the back. And he kicked me in my kidney so hard. Oh, God. I mean, I literally, I wanted to, scream when it happened. It was a hard sell. I talked to my students around here about the register, the sell, hard sell, dead sell. I went into a dead sell. After that.
100%.
Yeah. And I waited on him to come through the curtain, and I told Finley, I said, if you ever kick me like that again, we're going to be fighting next time you come back through the curtain. I mean, it stiffened me up like that. That's why I hated working with those guys. They were two of the stiffest workers ever. You know what? But I don't shy away from it or anything like that.
Yeah, what do you do like in that situation? Do you just say, okay, if this is where we're going, let's go for it?
Well, it's called a receipt. It's gonna, the guy's gonna get it back somewhere. I mean, I'm gonna whack you somewhere, in the match.
It might be a house show in Poughkeepsie 3 weeks from now, but I'm getting you.
No, it's gonna be somewhere shortly after, the delivery of what just happened.
It's kind of like you. I don't know if you saw it. It was a few months back. It was when Braun Strowman got a little bit overzealous in the ring with Brock, and he hit him with a knee, and then Brock was like, "Hey, that's cool." Bam! Right to his face.
It was a hard shot too.
Yeah.
And
he was just like, "Hey, man, calm it down."
It was a couple shots, and it was like, "Hey, okay, now we can work this, or we can shoot this. Which one do you think is going to look better?
Which one do you want to do?
Oh, which one do you think is going to feel better?
Yeah,
So slow it down.
Do you want to wake up next morning and be able to eat breakfast?
Yeah, hey, that's what it's about, man. Going out there and stiffing it up a little bit.
Did you ever have to do that real quick with a guy who was maybe a little bit less experienced with you, or in wrestling terms, green? Did you ever have to go in there when he got maybe a little overzealous and like, hold on, kid, calm down?
Well, you snap mare him a little bit. You grab a hold and you get real close to him. You whisper it in their ear. You know what I mean?
Just settle down.
Slow it down, kid. You know what I mean? That's all you got to tell them. Slow it down, kid. You know what I mean? Don't get too wild. Slow it down. And then if they don't understand, you wrench it in a little tighter, and then they understand a little bit. But that's the wrestling business. That's the way the veterans do it. But.